What's up everybody, FSC Trucking. Well, we're going to start today's video with firing up Orwell. It is a nice, crisp Monday morning. Today's actually September 11th, so something to think about as we go through today. Maybe I'll talk about that a little today, I was thinking, because I never really told the story of that. My story, from the trucking side of things. Maybe that's what we'll do today. But either way, we are picking up a striker, and that's going out to Wilmington, North Carolina. Going down to a port down there. So what we're gonna do today, load that, and then get on down the line, figure that out. So either way, let's figure out how to make today's video a good one, huh? Even though I already brought up a pretty sad subject, let's try to make this video great. Let's go. Nice and crisp out. Orwell does not like the cold. Neither do I. Makes you wonder why we live here. Well, we're at least on a Wisconsin-based carrier. Can't do much about that. So, we deal with it as we need. So while Orwell warms up and airs up, I'm going to go inside, put the bike away, and then get on with it. All right, let's go do our thing. Alrighty, boys and girls, y'all know what time it is. Roll that beautiful cold footage. God, I love it. I don't know why I keep feeling the need to explain it every time. Truck, when you initially started, it must create some kind of an overfueling situation where it literally will give you the coal one time after you fire it up. Now if I nurse into the throttle, it won't do it, but it'll give you one shot where I can just labor it down, hammer on it, and it'll just burn up whatever residual fuel was left over wherever it puts it, or however that works. And then it'll never do it again. That is until you shut her down and refire it. But it looks cool. I do it one time, that's it. Doesn't do it on the regular. I always feel like I need to explain that to people. But whatever, either way. Working in the field over here, so the road's been getting kind of yucky. It looks like they're doing what they can to try to keep it down, but that's living at the farm for you. When I came up with the bike earlier, there was a bunch on the road, but you know, it's not like it's clumped up. I think it's more than anything else, looking for the big rocks, big clumps. But not a big deal. I mean, I'd be pretty pissed if I had a nice new Ferrari coming up through here, but I don't think too many Ferraris or Lamborghinis come up this road yet. Although there is room at the shop to land a helicopter, which I suppose in the future is a possibility depending on how my friends are. But I'm not even close to that. Although obviously I know people that do, or know people that might. Well, we'll see. Who knows what the future holds. So we bust ass and we grind hard to try to make crap happen. Although I have no interest. I don't see it in my future. Obviously, I'm good friends with Tim Gentry. He does haul a helicopter, so I know he's been talking about getting a helicopter for years. And that's one of his goals, so I hope he ever does it. And if he ever does, he's, as far as I'm concerned, more than welcome to land that sucker over at the shop. Earlier I was talking about September 11th, and I was thinking about that, like, should I mention it on the channel, should I not? And by the time this video comes out, it's probably been a week since I've filmed it today. But today is the 22nd anniversary of September 11th. And 22 years. Wow. Think about that now. Just the time. And you know, that's a problem. And that's the only reason why I'm wanting to talk about it a little bit. Is only the fact that nobody does anymore, really. And a lot of the younger guys that watch my channel, they don't remember it because they were pretty young, or they were little kids, or like in Matt's case, weren't even born. Matt wasn't born until 2 years later. You know, and Sean was, you know, he's mid-20s. He was so small, he doesn't really remember other than seeing some stuff on television, and I don't even really know if he remembers. I know he said the last thing, really the only thing he remembers was getting taken out of school. He had his mother go and get him. And like, so many people took their kids out of school, at least where I was living in Pennsylvania, which was in the Poconos, right near the New Jersey line. So a lot of people were pulling their kids out of school. They just canceled school to like half the kids left. So the school was like, you know what, just call it for the day, we're done. No one knew what was happening. So I guess I'll go ahead and I'll tell my story from the very beginning of it. Truck's ready. A lot of things were different for me at that time. I actually was married at that time, and my ex-wife, the mother of my two sons, we were together. And at the time I was an owner-operator for, well, I bought my first truck in 2000, so this was going into my second year of owning my own truck. I had a 1995 Freightliner FLD 120. Long wheelbase. It was an old Road Scholar truck, actually. It had a Caterpillar, a 3406E Cat. It had a 3406E Caterpillar. It was a 4 1/4, 450-ish, if I remember right. And I was leased on with Landstar. Yeah, I know. Ended badly there, I'll tell you that. At that time, being leased on with Landstar, when I first started with them, I was pulling a dry van, one of their trailers. And the way their system works is they run with a bunch of brokers. They call them agents. Sounds better. And the problem with running the Landstar system at that time, I have no idea if it is that way now, was that the agents had to take only a certain percentage of the load if it went on a Landstar truck. So example, like if a normal freight broker hauls a load or quotes it for $5,000 and they find a carrier that'll do it for like $2,000, well, they keep the $3,000. So they make $3,000, you make $2,000, but you had the lion's share of the profit. If you were a Landstar agent or broker and you put it on a Landstar truck, the system was set up where you only made X amount of percent off of it. I think 8%, I think. So you stood to make more money if you could get it on a non-Landstar truck. And as the load got closer to the time to ship, if you couldn't find anybody to haul it for cheap, well, then you'd give it to a Landstar truck, a BCO they call them, business something, I don't remember, owner-operator. Put it on a Landstar truck, you only made your 8%, but then the load went. I found an agent that would give me a heads up on a load that was coming that I used to pick up out of Altoona all the time and run it, Altoona, Pennsylvania. Remember, lived in Pennsylvania, and hauled it to Southgate, California. And it made pretty good money. And that agent was actually a pretty honest one that didn't try to pimp it out on a cheaper carrier. Just literally called a few drivers that were regular that did the load good without any problems. And I was one of those drivers. If I knew that load was coming, I would make sure that I was home to get that load. The problem was I'd get good money getting to California, but with a dry van coming back out of California, good luck. If you got anything, it was cheap. And oftentimes he would just bounce around with that dry van hauling like more local or regional freight to hope you get lucky to get something with decent money coming back. I remember one time I got good money on a load coming out of Spokane, but I took a load from like LA to Seattle and then bounced out to Spokane, and I had to go from Spokane all the way down to like Tampa with it. And that was a decent paying load. And then of course the trouble was getting out of Florida with a dry van coming back to Pennsylvania. I think I bounced out of Florida, come to Georgia, hold something back. So at the time I started figuring out that Landstar did have a couple of reefer trailers available. So I picked up one of them, a company trailer, and then I bought one of my own trailers and gave them back their reefer trailer. And at the time of September 11th, I had my own trailer. It was a 48-foot, 102 aluminum ribbed floor, not a flat floor, ribbed floor. Had a Thermo King on it, and I had to redo the doors because the doors were pretty screwed up. Had to redo the suspension on it a little bit, and I wound up putting a set of tires on it because the tires that were on it were, you know, recaps, and I lost 2 of them, and at that point I just put cheap tires on it. So I hauled out with my own trailer, went all the way out to California with it, unloaded my my stuff at Southgate, and then I was pulling reefer to Hunts Point, New York. And I was doing that fairly regularly, and everyone goes, "Oh my God, Hunts Point, New York." I didn't have any problem with that. The trick was, we were pulling for the guy that was paying one of the handful of agents that handled Landstar's refrigerated freight. He hauled direct for the customer that was buying the produce in Hunts Point. So when we were delivering the stuff, we were delivering it to whoever bought the load, and as long as it didn't move or shift or have any damages to it, it wasn't a problem. Hunts Point for me was pretty easy. You get there, get back into the dock, you take a nap, they unload you, and then you sign your papers and gone. Hunts Point had a lot of blinking his light about something over here. Truck recognized me or something. Long story short, Hunts Point was not a problem for me. We might have had 1, 2, sometimes 3 picks in California, and all one drop at the same spot. He was waiting on you when you got there. You couldn't get there quick enough for the guy. So as far as I was concerned, get out of Cali, unload, reload, turn and burn, get to Hunts Point, unload, and go home. And it worked out good. That was until September 11th. That particular day, I woke up. What we used to do was, my ex-wife, I would run, I typically try to run at night. Run in the day, run a little at night. But back then, it was a lot easier and I was a lot younger, so I ran a lot harder. I'd run until I got tired and then I would go to sleep. And then when my ex-wife would get up and get the kids ready to go to school, she would call me and that would usually wake me up. And my view was like, well, if you're up, it's time to go. So if I was really tired, I would just go back to bed, but wake up and get scrolling again. And that's how it was. So that particular day, Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, I got up like I normally do. I woke up at a rest area. No, sorry, correct that. I woke up at the Petro in York, Nebraska. To, the typical wake up, good morning phone call. And that day started like any other day. Got up, got something to eat, and then got going. As I'm going down the road, talking to, my ex-wife, wife at the time, dropped off my kids, and on throughout the day. And then she called me back after the kids had gotten done talking about who knows what. I don't really remember. And then she says, hang on, my mother's beeping through. So my mother-in-law was now calling my house phone, and my ex-wife answered it, and then talked to her for a couple of minutes, and then called me back. And she said, hey, yeah, Mom said that a plane had crashed into one of the Twin Towers. And immediately I was like, well, what kind of plane was it? Like, what was it, right? She's like, I don't know. I'm thinking like a small plane, like a Cessna. I'm thinking like something with a single engine propeller, privately owned aircraft. So then she turns the TV on and she says it's on the news. I'm like, okay, well, what's it saying? She's like, well, the building is burning. I'm like, okay, well, how big of a impact is it on? Now, granted, I'm blind to this. I can't see. It's not like we had smartphones back then. It was a flip phone. I'm like, well, how big is the impact on the building? She's like, almost as wide as the building. I'm like, that's not a small airplane. She's like, well, how big are the buildings? I'm like, I don't really know how big they are, and I've been there once or twice, like out in front of them. And I'm like, they're big buildings. She's like, I said, well, how big's the impact on a building? She's like, corner to corner. I'm like, that's something the size of a jetliner. She says to me, they got footage of it. I go, what do you mean they got footage of it? She's like, there's a video of the plane hitting the building on the news. I'm like, how? How did the news cameras catch a plane hitting the building? Like, what did somebody call ahead in advance and says, hey, we're going to schedule a plane crash into the Twin Towers? Like, how did the news catch it? And I'm like, I don't understand what's going on, and I'm telling her to like put the audio up and like, listen, I want to hear it, what's going on. Some kind of vehicle on the shoulder, highway helper things, I think. Traffic's always bad through here, don't take much. Somebody gets pulled over for whatever reason, and it creates a backup right here. They're gonna make this all 3-lane. I think they're gonna start this summer, or this spring. Make it 3-lane all the way from Green Bay down to Neenah. So the mystery for me was, how in the heck did the news crew get, at this point she was saying, multiple angles of the same plane crash? How is this possible? Well, we're doing 30, so we've definitely, since move over isn't really possible. Kind of is, but we're doing 34, so the move over or slow down certainly applies. 30 is definitely or slow down. So we're literally causing almost a crash to pick up litter. Come on guys, we gotta go. I said to my ex, I said, you know, not for nothing, but hijacking aircraft is like a high school elective in the Middle East or something. So I'm like, because at that time, it wasn't an uncommon thing for someone to hijack an aircraft and hold it for hostage, you know, free somebody or give me a whole boatload of money, right? So I'm like, could they have just literally just decided to fly an aircraft into a building on purpose? Especially when my ex-wife was telling me from the video that she was seeing, it was a commercial airliner, it was not a privately owned aircraft. She's like, no, this is a commercial airliner. I'm like, okay, if it's commercial airliner, this is not somebody with a beef. This is terrorism. And that's when it came to me. I'm like, how many of the buildings are on fire? Bergstrom put air flags at half-mast today. Auto dealer right there. That's actually where I bought Jen's car. Same group is where I bought my pickup, but not there. I bought it up the road the other way. I'm like, are both buildings burning or just one? That's what she said to me. She goes, both buildings are on fire. That's when I realized, I'm like, no. I said, listen, what you're watching on the news is the second aircraft. The first aircraft was to get the attention. It was staggered. They staggered the aircraft that we not both hit at the same time. You hit one building with one plane, the news crew is on there. Now you hit it with the second airplane. You now caught it on video, and that way you can guarantee that you have at least the second one on camera. It turns out a local photographer caught the first one as it flew over them. I think there's one camera shot of the first impact, and then of course there's multiple camera angles of the second one. Now is where, for me, it got scary. I said to my ex-wife, I says, whoever they are using our aircraft as missiles. How many more? What's coming? Is there more? Or are they done? At that point, the news was like, no one knew anything. They were saying there was more aircraft unaccounted for, this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh crap, hold on to your butts. This is gonna get real quick. Now, living in the Poconos, there is a story that my parents told me from when I was a child, before my sister was born, living in New Jersey. I'm going to tell you the story of 3 Mile Island now. The 3 Mile Island was a nuclear power plant that is in the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania area. I think it's east of Harrisburg, and it relies on water fed to it by the Susquehanna, if I remember right, Susquehanna River. 3 Mile Island had nothing to do with terrorism. It was an accident. It screwed up. Simply put, oops. When that was happening, my dad was at work, and they were trying to think about what they were going to do. Here's a flag between the two fire trucks. Excellent. Anyway, my mom was if it got real bad, my dad was saying to my mother, head south, go to the mountains of West Virginia with me. My father would follow he had the pickup truck and mom had the car. So my dad had said, if 3 Mile Island goes up, get in the car and head south, and he'll meet us in West Virginia. The idea was to get south of any radioactive plume that would come over from up into the New York, New Jersey area in the prevailing winds. I immediately started thinking the same thing. We have a power plant west of us in Berwick, Pennsylvania, and I was worried that somebody would try to hit that with an airplane. And I had my ex-wife's oldest son, and my oldest son, Sean, who was like a baby. And I had said, if they hit 3 Mile Island, head west. If they hit Berwick, go to your sisters in West Virginia, head south. Get out of the radiation. At that point, I told her, fire up my pickup and go get gas, and then fire up the Suburban and go get gas, have everything full of fuel, and get Sean out of school. He was the older boy, her older son was in school, and Sean was in daycare at the time. So they picked him up, she picked both of them up and went home. Which point we listened to the news the rest of the day and then tried to understand what was happening. No one really understood what was happening yet. And then my appointment was September 12th, 3 o'clock, to unload my load of honeydew melons I was on my way in with. I made it as far as Ohio. Took not much more than a nap. The broker called me and said just go home with the load. No one knows when they're going to open up the bridge. They shut down the bridges, so you couldn't get in or off of New York with vehicles. That's why everybody was walking out of Manhattan. They reopened at George Washington at noon. I crossed it at like 3 o'clock on the 13th. They had said just, the broker obviously before we knew anything was like, hey, make sure your reefer's full of fuel. I remember coming across, I remember watching Casey's General Store. I remember them running their gas prices way high. They were the ones that did it. And I don't know if Casey's ever got in trouble, and I will have no problem talking about it. And to this day, because of that September 11th super fuel hike at Casey's General Stores, coming across Iowa and wherever the hell they were, Iowa and Nebraska, and I think in Illinois maybe too. I literally only have ever bought fuel from them one time, and that was in my Dodge pickup because I damn near ran it out of gas hauling my camper, but that's it.
Today, the backlash continues. 1 week after several area Casey stores hiked their prices to $4 a gallon in the middle of a national crisis.
The damage is done. I believe the damage was done.
Business here at the gas pumps at Casey's in Port Byron still hasn't recovered.
It's really slowed down over there. It's usually maybe 100 cars a day, and now maybe 10 or 15.
That was uncalled for. They were the only ones that raised their gas prices.
While Casey stores are trying to win back customers, its competitors are the big winners.
Where normally we have one person working a shift, we now have two working a shift because it's so extremely busy.
But I was crossing Indiana when I remember seeing 4 distinct contrails in the air. If you remember, they did a ground stop and halted all airplane travel after they realized that they're hijacking airplanes. So the government ordered every single airplane grounded, land wherever but land. At that time, there were only a handful of aircraft in the air, and those were fighter aircraft and the president's airplane, Air Force One. The president went from Florida to Nebraska, and it was flying back from Nebraska back to DC, and that's when we were able to see Air Force One flying overhead. I saw him in Indiana as I was heading east. That was Air Force One with fighter air cover escorts. September 11th was a Tuesday. New York was shut down all day, basically Wednesday. And then Thursday they started letting businesses open back up as long as you weren't anywhere near ground zero. And came across the bridge and dealt with New York. A rough day unloading, but it was what it was. I remember watching the buildings collapse live. I was actually in Council Bluffs, Iowa. In those days, they used to sell the televisions with the VCRs in the TVs. And that's where I watched the buildings fall, sitting in that pilot. First time I saw with my eyes. Remember, starting in York, Nebraska, got the call, kept on heading east, got into Council Bluffs. I think I fueled up there. And then that's when I was able to see it on the news, on the TVs they were selling. And that's the first time I saw it. And then I watched both of them collapse right there on live television. At that point, I knew how bad things were going to be. I guess I told the story out of tune. Wow, that's weird. Seeing the fire trucks, and I get thinking, that's kind of messed up, I guess. I'm still get emotional, man. I didn't lose nobody, but I knew a lot of people that did lose a lot of people. So yeah, it messes with you a little bit. I remember afterwards with the fire trucks, you always saw American flag on the back of FDNY fire truck. Ah, that. Thought I'd be able to tell a story without troubles. So I unloaded and then went home. I had to do some repairs on my trailer and then just kept working afterwards. What can you do? What's that? Yeah, I could do that. Wilmington.
Where are you going now?
Wilmington, North Carolina.
You got one going to Minnesota.
Not me. And I guess the rest of these say is history. I guess it's fitting we're hauling a fire truck, if anything. I remember they saying about, can't let the terrorists win. I got news for you. Society, American society changed big time after that day. How do you think they pulled COVID off? They used the forces of government that they put in place after 9/11. They may not have won, but they certainly changed the way we do business. They certainly changed our way of life. That's how they pulled COVID off. Remember, fight them there so we don't got to fight them here. How'd that work out? The same Patriot Act they used to prevent terrorism is the same thing they used to go after patriots in this country. I got news for you. If they want to change the way we worked and lived, they did. It's about time to start changing it back. So I go to work every day and I don't mind talking about it a little bit. Think about the crap that we lost, the things that we did that we should not have done. So, I don't know, COVID-wise, I was expendable. Essential, expendable. Nowadays, it's just something they use to take our rights away even more than they did even back then. So, with that, I guess we'll start on and, well, I gotta start pulling the trailer apart and get on with life. So we're gonna do today what we always should do to remember. And that's press on and keep working. And do what Americans do is sack up, get crap done. That's what we do. And that's what I'm gonna do today. So I'm gonna get back to work. I'm gonna take this trailer apart. We're gonna load this fire truck and we're gonna do what we do best. We're
So today I'm gonna do what makes this country the best that there is. We're gonna push on, we're gonna work, and we're gonna show them that no matter what they do to us, no matter what they think they're gonna take from us, we're gonna press on. Because that's what we do. That's what we always did. Time to get at it. Let's make tracks. There are 6 trucks total. 4 company trucks showed up before me, and then this company truck showed up, and then me. I don't know if the other guys are keeping them or how all that works. Not my problem. Company truck's gonna follow me to the yard. We'll get all our permits. That's not the same truck I drove when Orwell flung the ring gear off. That's a different truck, but they're all pretty much the same. Guy seems to know his stuff. I gave him a couple of pointers with the strikers that are specific to these trucks and how we operate, but receptive guy, so that's good, you know. First time hauling a striker, so make sure I gave him good pointers, and like the guy listens, so that's good. A lot of guys, they act like they know it all when they don't. It's not like he's not experienced, he just never did a striker. So there's a couple little things that we do to make sure that we don't have any issues with the trucks. Now this truck, according to the paperwork, weighs in about 49,000.